Welcome to C# for Crestron programming. In this tutorial, we will create a TCP/IP server in SIMPL Windows, and then create C# code to send and receive commands. First, let us define what a TCP/IP client and server are. A TCP/IP client opens a TCP/IP socket with a third-party Ethernet device, such as projectors, AV receivers, etc. TCP/IP servers typically listen to a specific port number so that a client can connect to it. Remember that in the client-server model, the server must be up and running before the client can connect and communicate. Without further ado, let us get started. I created a basic CD player server within SIMPL Windows by adding a TCP/IP server with port 49150D and an IP address of 0000 in the configuration options. This program is loaded on an MC3 processor. The port is an arbitrary port that I picked, however the IP address of the TCP/IP server is 0 because we want the server to accept connections from any IP address. Further, I defined a couple of commands in a serial I/O symbol with P, OK, and S, OK, with carriage return and line feed as the delimiter. Command response play \R and stop \R. Now we open Visual Studio 2019. To speed up the process, I created a project called TCP Socket. We should create a separate class for the TCP/IP client socket, which will help separate the logic and keep the program organized. To add the class, right-click on the Solution Explorer and add New Item, New Class by giving the name My Basic TCP Socket. Let us add the following namespaces, using System, using Crestron.SimplSharp, System, and System.net.Sockets in the Using namespace in our file. Note that System.net Socket is using .NET implementation of the network sockets, which runs natively on 4 series processors. Just a side note here, if you want to run this on a 3 series processor, you will have to use the sandbox version of Visual Studio 2008, which is Crestron.SimplSharp.CrestronSockets. Under our class, My Basic TCP Socket, let us define TCP Socket implementation. Here is the Microsoft reference link, as you can see in view. Added some comments indicating command and IP address of the server, ports, etc. A string variable name command declared as private, then we create a play method. Command variable equals play and carriage return and line feed. Send command passed in command variable. Then a similar block of code for the stop method as well. Next, private void send command string command to send. A try-catch block. Within try block, we define a ushort port to be 49150, which was also used in the SIMPL Windows program. This is a U short since it is a 16-bit integer. Next, define the IP address of local server 192.168.86.204. Note that this is my local server IP address which I created on the MC3 processor. Next, we translate the passed message into ASCII and store it as a byte array. Get client stream for reading and writing network stream. MyStream equals myTCPClient.getStream. Now send the message to the connected TCP server. Next, we store the response in ASCII representation. String response data equals string.empty. Now we read the TCP response bytes and print a console with Crestron.console.println CD server response. Finally, we close the stream data and the socket. And under catch, we report the exception error if applicable. Let us go back to our other file, TCP/IP client.cs. First, we need to instantiate the TCP socket. My basic TCP socket CD player equals new basic TCP socket. It is easier to test with a custom console command. We will define that within a region under the try block. Under Event Handler section down here, we should create our CD command method. We define our void CD command string input and call for play and stop methods. If input equals play, then Crestron console println sending play command and call our play method and print to console sending play command. Else, if input equals stop, then Crestron console sending stop command and call our stop method and print to console sending stop command. We finish with another else and perhaps display something like invalid argument passed if a wrong command is entered. We build by using shortcut key F6 and monitor communications for our TCP/IP client server program. Then upload the code via PowerShell script. First, look at our custom command called cd command in the list. Isn't that nice? Well, let us send the play and stop commands and monitor in Simple Debugger. Note that we consoled to the CP4 processor, which is running my C# code, and Simple Debugger running my simple code on the MC3 processor. There you go. We're getting responses, and the task is complete. Congratulations, you have just programmed a TCP/IP client within C#. In summary, in this tutorial, we learned how to create a TCP/IP server in SIMPL Windows with a few basic symbols on an MC3 processor, and implemented the TCP/IP client within Visual Studio and established communications between a TCP/IP client and a TCP/IP server. Thank you for watching.